what's working the best right now, it's always the same stuff, just a different day, right? And the what's working is relevant ads, and relevance is a continually changing beast where, you might have relevance today for a specific type of ad, and then tomorrow you're going to have to completely change everything that you did and the way in which you present yourself because the psyche of the consumer is changing. So for us, what's working right now is remembering to have a lot of fun with the clients, right? Meaning the end customers, right? And to make sure that we're having a nice diversity of ads so that we don't hit a lot of saturation. Because as you know, at these spend levels, nobody has a limitless audience unless they're global.
On this episode of the Rich Ad, Poor Ad podcast, we have Mike Hill, president of the Media Management Association, an expert in copywriting, media buying, and conversions. In this episode, Mike dives into creating winning creatives that you can scale up to $15,000 a day, how to get different credit line increases to ramp up your ad spend, and how to stay consistent and relevant with your brand messaging to impact ads. This is going to be a great one, folks, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But before we begin, if you are an agency owner or media buyer, head over to funnel-.com to find out how their tools can help you scale your ads. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Zach Johnson and Dylan Carpenter.
Welcome to another episode of the Rich Ad, Poor Ad podcast. This is your host, Zach Johnson. I'm with Mr. Dylan Carpenter. Dylan, you excited to talk to an OG today?
Man, when it comes to data, it seems like he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to go ahead and buckle up and get the pen and paper out, man.
Yeah, man. Today's guest, we're very fortunate to have a guy. He does not do any speaking podcasts. He's a really difficult guy to get a hold of. He's a bit of a hermit, if I may say so myself. But the guy's got over 2 decades of experience in the world of media buying and has really ran some massive campaigns. Mike Hill, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate being here with you guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Hopefully I can help you or help someone who's listening on the line to have a better ad experience.
Have a better ad experience. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what's new with Mike Hill, man? It's like we don't have to go through all 20 years of a background. Hopefully the folks listening to the show, they're pretty sophisticated, either affiliates or advertisers or agencies, but give us a little bit of update on what's new with you this year and what you got going on.
Sure. We have, I've been running my agency for over 20 years now. And this year we decided that we wanted to kind of trim things back. So we eliminated almost all of our client load and just now focus on just 2 clients. And our media spend is currently anywhere between $1.5 million and $2 million a month. And we're very, very excited about the future and testing, a lot of really next generation ad types and seeing how we can kind of, evolve our own ad experience for our advertiser and for their customers as much as possible. So really we're focused on, just playing this year, really having a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this is the year where pretty much all the rules kind of go out the window, but you have to really lean on the fundamentals, which you guys have nailed down pat. But that's awesome. 20 million, 25 million a year in spend. That's across 2 clients. I mean, that's no joke, man. So congrats on that.
Thanks, brother.
But let's get into it, man. What's a rich ad? What's working for you guys right now?
For us, what's working the best right now is, it's horrible to say, but it's always the same. It's always the same stuff, just a different day, right? And the what's working is relevant ads, and relevance is a continually changing beast where, you might have relevance today for a specific type of ad, and then tomorrow you're going to have to completely change everything that you did and the way in which you present yourself because the psyche of the consumer is changing. So for us, what's working right now is remembering to have a lot of fun with the clients, right? Meaning the end customers, right? And to make sure that we're having a nice diversity of ads so that we don't hit a lot of saturation. Because as you know, at these spend levels, nobody has a limitless audience unless they're global. We're not. We're focused only on the United States. So we have a 330 million person audience potentially. That's the max. And at our spend level, you're going to start hitting a lot of those people very frequently. Does that make sense?
Oh,
yeah, 100%. I mean, I felt like I was much more relevant in my young 20-something-year-old Zach, and now I'm just not relevant as a 30-year-old. So, that's how.
I literally told my team, we gotta hire some 20-year-olds who are, smoking pot and just let them sit and write out ads. I'm like, look, because I can do it, but man, I am so deprecated on creativity compared to the kids today, where they just come up with this craziest stuff. My daughter's boyfriend melted a turkey that was a turkey shaped piece of butter, and it got I don't know, 500,000 or 1 million views on TikTok, and I'm like, you just melted a thing of butter. I don't get it. so yeah, there's something to be said.
We're getting more and more irrelevant every day, just completely irrelevant.
Oh, and if you really want to knock it out of the park these days with all these college students and memes, you can get some cheap, outsourced labor to kind of really, hey, we'll give you $500 a month to just come up with relevant memes depending on what's going on. Because you're spot on. These younger kiddos, they definitely know what's trending and whatnot. So I mean, hey, if you can incorporate some memes to make it relevant, they're not going to last forever, but hey, it could be a good way to really cater to your audience and relate with them even more.
100%. I mean, even TikTok has that whole contributor model now, and there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do. They have actually tapped into it. Facebook could take a cue from TikTok on letting contributors contribute instead of having it be, just a bunch of people in the Facebook headquarters who think they got it down, but, really maybe not as much as the TikTok contributors.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So what's the playbook here for you guys, Mike, in terms of keeping up with the Joneses when it comes to fresh creative, and how are you doing this for these few clients you're working with?
That's a really great question. I mean, and I think that the answer was already kind of mentioned. I think that the playbook really consists of constant diversifying creative that has relevance to the current mindset or of the audience always, right? So as an example, it could be holiday-based creative, right? Or it could be creative that really leverages a more recent meme that, as Dylan said, a meme that's actually gone popular and playing with that. It's leveraging TikTok trends. It's understanding the need for the consumer. The consumer creates an emotional bond with the advertiser when there is an emotional resonance, and it's difficult to get a true bonded emotional resonance with emotion for the sake of trying to drive a love emotion. It's much easier to get that emotional resonance when you're having funny ads. So I believe we're going to start seeing the next wave of advertising in 2021 for Facebook advertisers that will last are going to be ads that make you just laugh your ass off. If the ad doesn't make you laugh your ass off and there's no affinity for that advertiser because they want to look forward to your ads, you're going to continue to see what we are experiencing and others are experiencing who are in the DM marketplace, just continual ad fatigue and very quick ad atrophy.
Now, speaking of ad fatigue, now with what kind of budgets y'all have cranking out there, when it comes to, I'm sure you have, 2 or 3 winning ads that can, really take up the majority of the budget. So with those kind of winning ads, how much do y'all back behind it? Or is it really, hey, we may have 20 ads that all may spend the same, or hey, we have 3 out of these 20 that just really take up, 60 or 70% of the budget there?
That's a really great question. Traditionally speaking, the algorithm makes a lot of those determinations, and obviously we assist it, by inflating budgets and turning off poor performing ads. But in general, traditionally at around 40 to 60, 70,000 a day, you're going to have the bulk of that inventory going to about 5 to 7 ads at most, and you can, we found you can really stretch an ad up into that $10,000 per day range. 15,000 is like the cap, and then it starts to really see a point of diminishing returns. So generally speaking, anywhere from 4 to 8 ads is what we have found is kind of our sweet spot. And the algorithm likes to reward that as well. But then they have a finite shelf life, of course.
Oh, for sure. Everything dies at some point. Now, I imagine y'all test a ton of creatives. Do y'all do weekly creative tests, daily creative tests? Because, I mean, with what you're spending, I mean, you definitely, I imagine, are testing a ton of new angles for the most part.
Yeah, we have creative testing being done on a constant basis. I mean, the most difficult part, of course, for any brand conscious advertiser is making sure that you're staying within brand guidelines, but also not creating ad blindness, which happens very, very frequently. How much are you actually deviating on the creative? I mean, when we were spending $15,000 a day, it was one story, but at $50,000 a day, it's a totally different story. I mean, you cannot, you have to have a great diversity of ads that don't look anything like the previous ad, but yet still be able to incorporate the brand's presence. So that's one of our current challenges, to be candid.
I mean, that's what I hear pretty much from our top ad card users that are spending, 50, 100K a day. They pretty much all just say the same thing. Hey, like, we're doing really well, but can you please just find somebody to like take the burden off of creative and have like a creative mindset so I don't have to do this like every week. And they don't care about any other skill set. That's like all they do. So we get that quite a bit. So I definitely hear it. Okay. I want to hear about what's not working, Mike. I want to know something that you legitimately were like actually incredibly excited about. You thought, with all your years of experience, you just thought this is the best thing that I thought, I'm gonna crush it for my client, and it totally bombed. What's your poor ad, Mike?
I'm trying to think of what would be the best poor ad. I mean, obviously we fail every day. I mean, that's the whole point of marketing, is to fail fast, but to win big, right? So we have constant failures. I would have to say if I was to pick one big failure, it would be it would probably have to be thinking that we are creating clever ads and making ads that really hit home on the left brain, but then just fall flat on their face because there is actually no passion behind the advertisement. That's, to me, that's every time we do that, we see the kiss of death. There must be an emotional component to the ad if you want to continue and maintain that scale. I mean, if you look at the greats, and when I point to the greats, I'm talking about people who sell the shit that's impossible to sell, like insurance. How in the hell did Geico and Progressive turn insurance into something fun to watch ads for? We look forward to seeing insurance ads now. It's hard to believe that we're actually saying that, but we look forward to seeing insurance ads. That is the drive that we have to have as advertisers, so that we can do the same thing in areas where we're actually have something that's fun to advertise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think like to maybe rephrase it a little bit is just like trying to be cute, but there's no passion or no emotional connection behind it, right? Like kind of like maybe being sarcastic or cute or funny, but there's no oh gosh, that really, like, you're putting a fork in my side. Like that's the difference. Is that like kind of what you're trying to describe here, of where it's like clever, but it's not?
It's when you think that your ad is clever and you've got a bunch of people who are all patting their own back and you're like, yeah, that's going to work really, really well. But then in reality, the truth is that the ad doesn't leave an emotional imprint on the consumer in a way that actually resonates. I mean, you can. I'm not going to say, I think that was you, Zach. I'm not going to say that you can't use cringy ads, because you can totally take cringe to a whole new level, but cringe can actually bring affinity if the cringe is done cringy enough. But you can't do half cringe and half true.
I love that. And I mean, even from the insurance example, you got the Gecko 15%, or even there's some new emu one with some yellow background. I don't even know what the brand is, but I know they're a jingle because it's kind of a funny insurance commercial with an emu running around on the streets or something. So rather than turning something super unattractive, that's what it was. They kind of made it fun. So I definitely kind of get where you're coming from there.
Yeah, they took the cringe to a whole new level. My mom watched. I mean, literally, the commercial came on yesterday. I never see commercials, but like one of them came on, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love that one where the emu has a girlfriend." And I'm like, "Wow, these guys." I didn't think they're going to be able to pull this whole emu thing off when it first came out. I'm like, that is just stupid,
Yep.
but it's working. It's the cringe.
It's working.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so we're moving, man. We're cranking. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. This show is all about blending, finance and advertising, and you're working with some pretty big budgets now, and have throughout your entire life of your ad agency. But how do you work with clients? Like, I'm sure you've had clients where they've been pretty bad at this, right? And they kind of tell you to spend, and next thing you know, they're out of money or they're out of cash. And I'd imagine you potentially have some good systems in place of helping clients at least forecast or manage this, or at least win over budgets. What are some principles of how you've helped your clients scale up and manage the cash and finances?
That is a really great question. I have been left holding the bag on hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past because I was inexperienced, trusting, and foolish, to be completely candid. And here's the thing. Don't assume that everybody's going to get paid. Just because they've been getting paid every single week for a long period of time doesn't mean that train is going to stop. So now we had to put in place rules over a decade ago that say, once you've exceeded this, then you're going to have to pay us every single X period of time, or the ads stop. So we make it very clear, we are not your finance company. We are not even remotely close to being someone interested in financing you. So what you have to do is you have to get your shit together. So we teach people on how to establish their corporate credit, how to start setting up credit lines, how to use their Dun & Bradstreet listings, how to leverage credit cards. I mean, credit cards are a great way for you to be able to take a 30-day float and be able to, hopefully you've done your diligence to make sure that you're actually receiving your return before your 30-day window expires. But you can do an awful lot with a credit card window, especially if you can get paid by your merchant vendor in a timely fashion. And you can put a lot of money behind it. I mean, there's times when we've been making payments to our American Express card every day, just because we're like, okay, they're going to freak out. And then that's how they ended up inviting us to have the Centurion card and all that other stuff, because they're like, oh my God, this is just so much volume. But we have to make sure that our clients were paying us so that we could pay them. Now we don't actually float anything. We make all clients have direct relationships. We make sure that they have really solid credit lines with their publishers. And Facebook will extend really nice credit if the advertiser has a good track record.
Now, with that track record, you may not have any insights on this. I feel like it's a black box with Facebook, but is it based off, hey, no payments have been, any errors there, or is it more of, hey, they've spent over 100K with good payments, or is it 500K with good payments to kind of get on that invoicing cycle, essentially, if that makes sense?
I'm sorry, I lost you for just a second. Could you repeat that? How do they get on the invoicing cycle? Is that what you asked?
Yeah. So like in Facebook's eyes, when it comes to kind of getting your accounts on these, different kind of, credit lines, like for Facebook, for example, now, do you notice it just based off, hey, all of our payments have been on time in a courteous manner, or is it, hey, they've spent, 500K with all payments on time, or is it just based off, making sure all the payments get kind of locked and loaded there?
Well, I can't. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not on their credit team or the credit worthiness team, but I mean, they use all of the same factors that everyone else does. I mean, they're going to look at the Dun & Bradstreet, they're going to look at your amount of creditors, they're going to look at your amount of debt, look at your cash flow. They're going to look at everything. They will extend small amounts of credit, I'm sure, to many people who have at least the fundamental minimum requirements. I think payment timelines are important, and we, our clients have always made payments on time, done a great job. We've never come close to. I mean, if you're going to look for financing from your publisher, you better make damn sure you're not coming close to, anything close to 80% of your allocated credit limit, right? You got to treat it like a credit card. Float that sucker in the 10 to 30% range. Keep asking for credit increases. And then, if you start getting into that, you can justify the request for increased credit when you start to hit the 50, 60, 70% credit range, because they start wondering, and then you have to justify and explain, why is it that you're asking for this additional line increase? And you have to show, here's what's happening. We got this coming down the pipeline. Here's the revenue that we've got for it. We've got cash in the bank. We just, it takes X days for that, for this to mature. I mean, you have to run it like an actual real business, and you have to make sure that you're presenting your case properly. And when you do, you get what you want, provided you're actually, telling the truth.
Ooh,
Yeah. Woo!
that was the best
Spit
answer.
some gold, Mike. I love it.
This episode is brought to you by Funnel Dash's Ad Card, the only charge card exclusively for your digital ad spend in partnership with MasterCard. And if you are an aggressive affiliate dealing with dozens of ad accounts, or you are in gray hat or black hat verticals such as drop shipping, CBD, or other verticals where you're dealing with ad accounts getting shut down, business managers getting shut down, or even deplatformed from platforms like Facebook and Google, then you absolutely need to check out Funnel Dash's Ad Card. We give you unlimited free virtual debit and credit cards, so you can have a dedicated card for every single ad account campaign. And you can attach any name and address in the US, so you have complete anonymity on the card and at the card level. Plus, one of my favorite features is that you don't have to pre-fund or even top off like most typical virtual card solutions today. So if this is you and you're operating these verticals, whether you're an agency or an advertiser, then check out AdCard at funneldash.com.
You know, the head of credit for Facebook is actually here in Austin, and we have pretty regular chats. One of the interesting things is there's actually like only 6,000 accounts like in I think North America that are on invoicing from what I remember. But like that's a very small amount, right? There's like 6 million plus like Facebook advertisers. But those 6,000 accounts like represent half of their annual budget. Or like that's it's crazy. And you know, most folks, like the qualifier used to be, I would say like pre-COVID was like spend 10K a month consistently for 3 months. But now, you know, it's like invite only, and they're kind of hunting down Crunchbase, and you know, they're like, if you've raised money, VC money, and you announced on Crunchbase, like they'll hit you up. But it's very much about brand, you know, on invoicing terms at the start in the prospecting. I would say just as much it is about payments, right?
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, literally, they're not in the business of financing a bunch of amateurs. They're in the business of working with professionals, you know? So if if someone deemed you worthy enough to give you VC funding, then clearly they have an understanding of your vision and they have invested in you, which makes you a lot less likely to be walking away from a debt with Facebook. Where if you're, you know, Mr. Arbitrage, yeah, that's not gonna float so well. In that case, it's a long way.
Mr. Arbitrage, ClickBank, platinummember.com. Okay, love it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Mike, tell everybody how we can support you and how can folks get in touch?
Well, you can support me by making your ads actually good. Don't make claims, because the more you make claims, the more you undermine consumer confidence. So don't be a tool. That's the best way you could support all of us, is to help us bring consumer confidence back by making your ads realistic, and don't piss in the water that we all have to swim in. So don't piss off Facebook, just be cool. Don't piss off Google, just be cool. Run a solid business, hook up with people like Zach and, you know, and folks who can help you to be able to make good choices. And then we all win, you know, a rising tide raises all ships, right? So when we have to compete against a bunch of people who, you know, make claims or piss and moan, it just makes everybody's job more difficult. So, you know, just do good, be a good advertiser, understand psychology, and start to actually, you know, treat the customers with respect and have a lot of fun with them. So that would be my ask. Is, you know, my ask isn't for me. My ask is for the well-being of all the public who give us money. Without that, we are all dead. So that's my ask.
No, that's well said.
Thanks, brother. And then if you want to reach out to me, I would say the best way is probably, in 22 years, Zach, you know me, man. We've known each other for a very long time. I don't advertise. I don't take on clients unless it's a special exception. I do have consciousmarketingacademy.com is still up. So if someone wanted to go there, they could reach me or my staff through that. That is the only presence that I have online. And it's not really for agency. It's really just for, you know, a bunch of stuff that I wanted to share as I was going through a growth period. I haven't updated anything there in a long time, but if you did want to reach me, that'd be the best way to find me.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Or through the group, through the Facebook group. We used to be Internet Marketing Super Friends, and now it's Conscious Marketing Academy on Facebook. So either of those two ways, buddy.
Oh, yeah, nice. Oh, actually, I have one other question. What do you think, like, I mean, this would also be incredibly relevant for the agencies listening, but like, who is like your ideal clients, like your partners that you've been working with like the longest, you guys have done the best work for? Like, who is that? Like, if you said, if you are spending 50K a day, like, talk to Mike.
Well, the client that I have now, I made they saw me speak at Traffic and Conversion Summit like a decade ago. And when they came to me, they only were spending $2,000 a month. That was what they asked for, like, can you help us? We don't have a lot of money. I believed in them. I saw their vision and I doubled down on them, and it worked out really, really in our favor. Now we're not at that point anymore. So I want to say everybody starts out small. So just because you don't have a huge budget doesn't mean you're not going to get there. Everybody starts small. But right now for us, I don't need somebody that's spending $50,000 a day. I have clients that, are spending, I don't know, probably $50,000 a month. Let me rephrase. I have one client that's spending around $50,000 a month. I still love that guy. I mean, for me, it's not about the amount of money that's being spent as much as it is about the relationship and what is expected from me. If I'm expected to be the one who is paddling the boat, and then you decide to throw on a cruise ship, and now I got to paddle my little boat and I got to tug a cruise ship, this is going to be a bad relationship, and I have no interest in being in it. But if I got somebody who's like, hey, you know what? This is really great. We have it. We're gonna throw you X money plus your fees as an agency, and you help us teach our creative team what needs to happen. I like forging long-term relationships. Both of the clients that I have that are currently with me have been with me for over 9 years. So that's interesting to me, not like charity cases and not you save my business or, that I have zero interest in saving anyone.
I have zero interest in saving anyone. That's awesome. I love it. I mean, well, that's a guy that's been in the agency game a long time, and I have mad respect for knowing exactly who your ideal client is, and you're going to protect yourself as well as protect them. I admire it. So, well, very cool. Thank you so much, Mike. We'll definitely have you back on soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much, Zach. Thanks, Dylan.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Rich Ad Poor Ad podcast. If you're like me and listen to podcasts on the go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and richadpoorad.com/podcast. And if you absolutely love the show, go ahead and leave a review and a comment, share with a friend. If you do, take a copy, screenshot of it, email me, zach@funneldash.com, show me you left a review, and I'll give you a free copy of the Rich Ad Poor Ad book. To learn more about the book, go to richadpoorad.com. To leave a review, go to richadpoorad.com/review. Thanks again.